Hello. Welcome to this, the 9th finale podcast episode of The Last of Us Fake Nerds Watch. I am Phai. I have been strong-armed into doing this awkward as fuck intro.
Yeah, you have.
And I am graciously invited by these two.
Heck yeah. All right. I am Sparkz Witty, back once again on Fake Nerds Watch for one last time for The Last of Us Season 1. And I'm joined with Ryan Eliopoulos right here next to me.
Hello. Thank you guys for joining us once again. You, my friends on the podcast, and the people watching and or listening at home. It has been so wonderful to talk about the greatest video game adaptation of all time with my friends. Never thought we'd be here. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. It's not Blood Rain by Uwe Boll. Believe it or not. It's not the best video game adaptation.
Man, like polar opposite.
Yeah, I tried to think of the worst one, and that's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
To think how far we have actually come.
Yeah, like I saw his House of the Dead in theaters because I was a young kid, and I was like, I like zombies.
Uwe Boll is like the absolute bottom of the barrel of adaptations.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
and he keeps getting them.
There's been a lot of talk around like the video game curse, and we certainly talked about video game adaptations around Sonic the Hedgehog for the podcast.
We talked about,
you know what we realized?
Every video game adaptation.
That first Silent Hill movie is good, and everyone should have shut up about video game adaptations pretty much after that.
Yeah,
but they didn't.
They came around.
It was okay.
When's the last time you watched Phai?
You have to revisit it.
It's good.
We watched it in the past 2 years, and I'm telling you, that's actually a good movie.
It's artsy fartsy. It's got real style. It's got a great tone. It makes you. It has like the most like it feels like Silent Hill. Like out of any adaptation, like boy, does that feel like that shitty ass town that you don't want to be in. Give it a second chance, man. I'm telling you, it's pretty good.
Okay, all right.
And a sequel. They're making a sequel. Same director and everything.
Third?
Yeah.
No. A sequel to the original with the same director. Forget the second one.
Technically a third movie, but they're ignoring it.
Yeah.
Anyway, The Last of Us, as good as Silent Hill, some would say, the video game.
better.
We made it. We're here.
We're here. You're here for episode 9, the season finale. The title is Look for the Light.
Look for the Light, which
is full circle from the first episode, which is the Firefly moniker, When You Are Lost in the Darkness. Come full circle here. The episode is directed once again by Ali Abbasi from last week, and written by both Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann.
Good. First of all, good choice. Good choice having that director come back because, man, this episode looked good. Shot so well. Obviously, we'll talk about everything else, but being the finale, like the big end of like the season, especially with like something so beloved and such a crazy ending. Like you need someone who knows how to direct some shit. And this guy, they got it. Loved it.
Yeah, I think all the director choices have been cool. We kind of touched on it before, but there's been a lot of like international film darling directors
that have come
on. And we talked about it for episode 6. I forget her name right now, but the way she handled that episode is she was the one who they expected to take on the war-torn 5th episode because of her film biography, and she's like, no, I want to do the personal,
that's right,
interrelationship stuff. Yeah, we're here. It's time for the last one. And I don't think there was anybody, like, we'll get first impressions. Like, I don't think there was anybody who got to this point and thought they weren't going to nail it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I feel like
they did.
Because I like to consume lots of like entertainment podcasts and stuff. I love listening to great people's opinions and stuff. And most people who haven't played the game love this episode. Mm. And most people who have played the game like this episode, but there are most of the criticisms, again, this is just from what I've seen, most of the criticisms are people who have played the games. And they're just like, oh, they didn't do this or they rushed this. And I'm like, if you don't have that context, I think this is still a great episode of TV that like doesn't, personally, I don't think it feels rushed. And I would only feel that way because I have prior context of what the game is. Mm-hmm. So like, I personally, I'm going to throw that out there. I don't think this episode feels rushed. I thought it was perfectly, people are like, oh, they can't tell the same story in this short of episodes. And I'm like, I thought it was great. I thought they told the story they needed to. Again, most of that shit is just like you murdering hundreds of people. So it's like, if anything, cutting out that gameplay made the story feel more powerful. And it made, like, especially that finale with Joel land. Like, I will say, I prefer how, like, the game, it's more brutal because, like, you feel it. But, like, the fact that we haven't seen this much brutality until the end of the show, you really feel it. Like, you really feel what Joel is doing.
Sure.
Which is something I know the creators have talked about a lot, of like the line of violence and, you know, jumping the adaptation line of like, well, the whole show can't just be killing people, because then it's like you're kind of losing like the focus of the story.
I think I have nothing against this episode in particular. I think this episode's really solid as a finale, as for what it's doing and everything. I think it's very good. I do think, going back and looking at our conversation last time, I think if there were a weak point in the season to me of where we needed something a little more, I do think, and I've been thinking about it since we talked about it, that episode 8 did need, specifically because we don't get any infected in the present in this episode. And so we actually, for Joel and Ellie, we go through their journey since episode 5 without encountering infected. And I do think in episode 8, they should have done an infected confrontation for David and Ellie. A smaller one than what's in the game. A much more downscaled for the show version. You didn't need a lot of infected to do the same thing. But I think it would have enhanced both the character arc in that story and given the audience just a little bit more of that infected presence to feel like, hey, you know, even when you think it's just people you're dealing with, gotta remember the infected are a threat. They're still out there, that kind of thing. I think even more importantly, kind of leaving it a little more prevalent, because I can reasonably see an argument to a television show only audience that, is the infection really that big of a problem? Do we really need the cure? With the lack of infected encounters in the back half of the season. And I would be like, I don't agree entirely, but I get the point of why it's being said.
Before I want to hear your thoughts on this, Pie. I do think for some people they expected a more action-packed zombie show, and that's, again, like them wanting to do something different from the game, which that is the game, is an action-packed like horror adventure. They did want to focus on the emotionality of it instead of like the random violence. And if you have to choose one or the other, like, I'm not saying they had to, but like if that's like dialogue that they're going for, then I'm glad they went with the way that it did. Because like, instead of having so many great emotional scenes, half of that could have just been random action that might have looked good, but didn't really progress the plot in any way. It could have just been more game stuff. And I am, again, at the end of the day, I'm glad that this was the direction they go. Could I have used one more like zombie like fight scene in not the finale, because the finale has to be somber.
No, I think the finale is.
It has to be, but I agree. I think the one like the David, like we talked about last week, that they should have had a small encounter, and that would have. I think that would have
literally no longer than the infected encounter we get at the beginning of this episode.
That would have helped people out, I think.
I do think it would have kept the threat of the infected consistently present throughout the story in a way where I think in the back half of the story it is light. And I don't think that that's a problem for like the character story we're doing. I think that should be the priority, but I do think there was room for one more sequence, and I do think we kind of nailed it when we were talking about last week. That's probably where it should have been. Go ahead, Pi.
I totally agree. Like, so just one more, and like you said, tonally would not have worked in the finale, and I think I know where it would have worked in episode 8. And I'm pretty sure you're thinking this too. When Ellie meets David, they could have an encounter with like just a small batch, because you don't need to fight a horde. They're not going to find countless piles of ammo lying around and them just like gun people down. But like, show a moment where Ellie knows how to handle herself around the infected, having learned a lot from Joel. That would have served, a narrative in that.
Literally just two people in the building that they thought was clear when they go to set up the fire, and
let it be clickers.
That's all you'd need. You'd be done right there.
I do agree. Unfortunately, this final episode, I think it has to be, again, just like the game, like the final stretch kind of has to be somber, and like they aren't dealing with threats, and the time you think there will be a threat, it's actually
the Fireflies.
It's actually it's giraffes.
It's
it's giraffes. I mean,
I see. I mean, like, I was thinking of like when the bomb comes in.
Oh,
on
sure,
them,
sure. I'm
you
talking
think
about
that's going to be
talking about like the
Raiders.
first half of the episode where it is them just exploring and walking and there's no danger. It's just them it's just Ellie being real kind of bummed out, thinking about her entire journey. Now that the journey's almost over,
Yes,
she's just lost in thought, and Joel is just not really seeing it at first. He's just he's in dad mode, and then he slowly realizes oh, what's wrong with my little girl? Because everything that's been happening to her this entire journey, because again, it's been 8 episodes for us, but it's been months for these people. It's weighing on her again. The end is so close in sight. It's wow, I have really done a lot, and I feel bad about a lot of it. And it's really again, this is again just like the game. I remember you walking along with Ellie, and he says something. She's like, yeah, okay. She's just really just
despondent,
yeah, almost disassociated. And it's again, Bella Ramsey just kills it, and Joel's yeah, I love it, this is great. Until he realizes.
It's funny where they place it too, because like you said, this should have been months from that event, yet it looks like she's still reminiscing as if it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Or last week.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't say it, but it is a new season. There's it's not snowing anymore and stuff. So time has passed.
It took them 3 months to likely hike all the way to Wyoming, and they had no horse. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, no horse. Yeah, Joel specifically says you're acting quiet today. So this isn't something that's been happening for months. Today is the first time he's it's the first time it's happened to her, because she realizes, oh, we're almost there. It's really nice, because again, this could have been an entirely action-packed finale of the entire episode's wall-to-wall nonsense. But I think again, having that first half be really somber and just it's oh man, this journey's coming to an end. What is going to happen after Ellie meets these doctors? Who knows? It's up in the air, and we don't know. It's about to get really traumatic and devastating.
But before that, let's talk about the flashback,
yes.
which starts.
I want to say first, though, you called it cold open.
Yep. It just narratively tracked with what they were doing, I think. And I liked it. I liked that they did it. We know now that Neil Druckmann, this isn't a new story necessarily to the lore of the world. It's just a new story that we've never seen before. Mm-hmm. But it's been in Druckmann's mind for a very long time. It was initially going to be an animated short. Ooh. Then it almost became a live action short with Ashley Johnson again. And then for a little while there, and he said he specifically was answering questions related to finding out any information about Ellie's dad. And he's we've actually expanded an entire story where there was going to be a game that was about Ellie's mom, a whole game, a spin-off game. And he's now I know that some of these stories might come back to the surface, so I'm not going to say all the details that came from that.
Yeah.
But that to have this finally made was really nice, because this has been in his head for a long time. Yeah, I think I think what's really valuable about it, and the reason I like it here, is so prominently important for Marlene.
Yeah.
Because I think that it needs to, I think Marlene's loss in this episode, especially for a television audience, feels more impactful when you're reminded of her presence at the beginning of the episode, because it has been since the first episode that we've seen her.
Yes.
So bringing her back to the forefront before you get to her end, I think is important.
And it kind of full circles her involvement with the whole story back again, because she wasn't just there at the birth of Ellie. She was there after the stuff with Riley as well. Mm-hmm. So she has been a constant in Ellie's life, and she did it for her mom, who we learn who was her best friend since childhood or whatever. This is another really sad moment for Marlene, and we only get 1 minute of it, but this is the end of a chapter for her. This is her best friend, they've been through everything together. And now she has a baby that might be a zombie.
We do know Druckmann did reveal specifically the detail is the intention in the story is that Anna, which is Ellie's mom, and Marlene are childhood best friends, and they have been since pre the end of the
apocalypse.
World.
Yeah.
So
pre-apocalypse.
Yeah. So we do know that detail about that relationship and how full it's supposed to be.
So it makes now that like makes more sense for like if you ever rewatched it or like played the game again. It's like no, Marlene is looking after Ellie.
Yeah.
With even more context than what we are first led on to believe. And like, no, she really does care for this girl because she knew her mama.
But not like a mother, which is so important because if Marlene
actually,
it's an important detail where Anna says like, find someone to take care of her because she's not putting it on Marlene. She knows who Marlene is and who Marlene's trying to be in this world.
Find someone.
If Marlene had been the person who was day in, day out taking care of Ellie, basically being her mom, her emotional standing in the situation at the end of the show would be the same as Joel's.
Yeah.
And I think that that's an important distinction of how she separated her relationship with her.
Yeah.
Also, I'll shout out that like I think it was Ashley Johnson on the official podcast who brought this up, but she said that like the other nice thing about this story being where it is with this finale is that there's a parallel in Marlene choosing to accept a truth that she believes is not true, which is that that Ellie was born before the bite.
Yeah.
Which Marlene doesn't believe. And Marlene doesn't believe it, but she chooses to believe it.
Yeah.
The same way that Ellie makes the choice to believe what she believes at the end of the episode.
There you go.
And that those things parallel each other really nicely. Those uncomfortable you choose to let go.
Yeah. I made the joke last week, but yeah, like Ellie has the same origin as Blade the Vampire Hunter, which is just, I think it's awesome. I think it's a really cool idea. Yeah. I'll reiterate, but Blade's mom was bitten by a vampire and gave birth to Blade, so he's half vampire, half human. I thought that scene was great. Yeah, the Ashley Johnson, OG Ellie. I think that's great. It's so crazy, like, because she sounds just like Ellie still.
Yes.
And it's just like, and she's like talking to herself, like, yeah, Ellie, yeah, give him hell as a little baby. I'm like, movies are funny, Hollywood magic is really funny. She's talking to her little baby.
It really did draw a line. Not that I didn't know what Ashley Johnson looked like. I did, but it really did draw a line watching in this where I'm like, you put aside knowing she's Ellie, put aside knowing that she's always been Ellie. She believably looks like she could be Bella Ramsey's mom.
Yeah.
Like that would just be good casting regardless of that fact.
100%.
But it makes absolute, like, they did exactly the right thing. They're very happy that it was Ashley Johnson because in their minds, Ellie is a character birthed out of her association and performance. So birthing the character literally into the show is pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Passing the mantle.
Also, again, I will shout out, despite what I said about like the previous episode needing infected, I think this was a smart way to have an infected in the finale because, like we said, we all agree it wouldn't have fit anywhere else in the story of the present for this episode. This part of the story shouldn't have infected. Like you said, that somber journey to the end shouldn't have infected, but this was a nice way to bring that back for the finale so that it's present in some way.
I would like to remark, because I think, intentional or not, we can assume that in the spots in between episodes of just Joel and Ellie surviving, that could be them having already encountered zombies. And we already know how they would take care of them.
Exactly. Yeah, this being a show where we've seen enough of it, and we know Joel's past, and like again, this isn't a video game. Like this could, with a different creative team, this could have been a much heavier action show, but it really, I don't think it would have the emotional weight that it has.
We've talked about it before that I've been, while people have been clamoring for like there haven't been enough infected in the show, I felt like there have been plenty. I think there have been enough. I think they've been appropriately spaced out so that they are involved in the narrative of the story. I agree with Phai's point. I'm sure they have encountered infected on the journey that we haven't seen because it's not an important beat.
Yeah.
I think that more what I'm saying with the previous episode is that I do think the show maybe needed one more important beat with infected in it before we got to this point.
Yeah.
But again, regardless, that's not a problem with this episode.
Yeah.
That's maybe my only problem with the entire season. Problem in really small font, tiny quotations.
So Joel and Ellie they're on their trip. Does Joel talk about the gunshot before or after he meets the Aminals?
After.
Okay, so
it's the thing he's saying before they get jumped by the fireflies.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, so the Joel and Ellie are exploring. Ellie Ellie catches something, and she's like, they're in a building, and Ellie catches something that we can't see, and it becomes kind of tense for a little bit. And Ellie's running up. And
before we get to the draft,
Yeah.
we get the ladder beat, which is for video
Straight
game
from the
people,
game.
is an important beat.
Yeah.
Because well, I guess not important if you played the Part 1 remake where they let you take all those beats
But
out.
no, but that part specifically still happens,
I'm sure
because
still
it's
stays.
a scripted thing.
Yes,
of Ellie dropping
it's a scripted bit, but it's still
Yeah.
nice to have that's there, because that ladder mobility thing is one of the few things we still hadn't done.
No raft this season.
In this way.
Raft is next season.
No raft this season.
Real quick, no upside down sequence.
Yeah.
This season. And
You're never wrong.
And it's true. And Neil Druckmann said, some things that we just took out from the game because they didn't fit into this world, and there was just we didn't find a place that it made sense for that to happen. And I'm like, Neil, I disagree with you.
All right.
Fundamentally disagree with you.
So here is my theory of why they gave it to Frank. What that trap serves is, all it needs to be is Bill's trap, and then Bill rescues whoever's in it.
That's true. But it's just a great, it's a tense scene. It's not so much as him hanging upside down. It's more about like Ellie has to save him while you're trying not to die. It's just a really tense scene. But again,
you want the action motifs. We all want more, sniper streets, car coming, explosions.
Hey, could still happen season 2, just like my stalkers.
David and Ellie fighting a couple clickers.
Yeah.
Would have been nice.
But yeah, ladder. But yeah, Ellie's so excited about something that she drops the ladder that she was about to give to Joel.
And might I say though, like a break of tension, because she had been so kind of like introspective up until this point, and now she's finally showing some sign that she is still that kid.
Absolutely, yeah. And who knows? We know what it is, but who knows what it is? And Joel's freaking out. There's like a lot of red, like it's giving you signs of chaos and like bad things.
Silhouettes.
Yeah. What was that?
You're talking about the build up to what they're gonna see.
Yeah. I'm saying like he's running up and stuff, and it's like it's like red lighting and stuff. So like you think it might be something bad, but then you get up there and you get a 100% real giraffe that everyone thought was CG. It's great. It's really fun. Well, it's because everything around the giraffe is CG. So I think I understand. It makes it look a little weird, but like, yo, man, that's a real giraffe. I saw a picture of Pedro Pascal hanging out with the giraffe. That's really funny. Iconic scene from the game. Great, lovely. Just to go to show, like, the world might be shit, but like beauty still exists in the world. And you see big giraffes and small giraffes, and Ellie's just like, oh my goodness, welcome to Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Just like the game. In no way do I think there wasn't a Brachiosaurus on the brain when they put the draft scene in for bonding with kids.
Speaking of Jurassic Park, the bodega sequence from Scream 6, the director said that was directly inspired from Jurassic Park. With the shotgun and then looking through the thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That makes sense. Scream 6 in theaters now.
Whole other thing. Check that out over on Fake Nerd Podcast. I'm so glad the draft moment was here. I really had no doubts it would be.
Yeah.
I think it's an important beat before you get to the Fireflies, not just because it's like the beauty in the world kind of thing, but it is this indication to Joel that a sign of Ellie being happy about something, that who she is still who she's been before, even if it's different now. And it is different now. Like, her excitement level's not the same as it would have been pre-David, but it's still there. Prior to that, I think... Oh, go ahead, Phai.
You might touch on this, but I was going to bring up, just like it is this moment of, tranquility, calm, and also Joel realizing this could be a point of no return, and he wants to tell Ellie, either for her sake or probably for his sake, that you don't have to go. We don't have to do this. We know there's a place of a better life, and we can just, we're not beholden to anything.
Right. Yeah, I'd say it's for her sake.
It's for Joel.
Via his sake, right? Yeah. Like, her sake is important to his sake now. They're linked.
Yeah.
So
I have
It
notes
is, and
on
it
this, but we'll
isn't.
touch on it later.
It is by virtue of being connected to his sake.
Joel's in selfish mode now, though. But so like that is his out of. I know we've gone this far, but like we don't know what's actually going to happen here.
Right.
Whereas we know we can go live a great life with Tommy, and we never have to worry about anything. You can just be my daughter and don't have to think about making any choices. Ellie, don't make choices.
Which is coming up a lot before we get to the draft moment, which is what I was going to jump back to. Is that prior to that, we're getting a lot of Joel going 180% on. I was thinking if I can find a guitar, I can teach you how to play all this kind of stuff.
Would you like that?
I want to be your dad.
Yeah,
hardcore.
He's going
right now.
hard, man.
Yeah.
He like drank like dad Kool-Aid. He's like he is such a different person. Like he is so. You are my daughter now.
he is. He's got that feeling that he's ready to be that again.
To love.
Yeah.
And he wants to show it. He wants to embrace it, but it's a little difficult. Or Ellie's making it not intentionally, but like her state of mind is not allowing her to be as receptive.
Yeah.
To these gestures.
Yeah, and then he's like, we can just drop all this and just go live a life. And she's like, after everything we've been through, Tess, Sam, Henry, Bill, all these people, like it can't be for nothing. We can't half-ass this. We have to go all the way. And that
Don't forget one last line that she says.
Yeah.
Everything that I've done.
Yeah. Everything that I've done, everything that we've done. Yeah. Like it can't be for nothing. And that is Ellie saying, if I have to give my life up, I will do it. That's basically what she's saying without saying it. And that's what makes the finale so juicy.
Well, and it's by two different mindsets, which she has the same mindset that Tess had, which is that doing this is the way to make up for the bad things.
Yeah.
And that will clear me of
her red ledger
of what I feel.
Yeah.
And Joel doesn't have that mentality. Joel doesn't have this sense of I carry a lot of weight of the bad I've done. He doesn't. Not really. Not in the sense where he's like, I need to make up for that. That's not who he is.
If anything, like Joel is now in like victory mode. He won. He got the girl. He got his daughter, right? So like he doesn't need to do any of this shit. And they don't. And spoilers, they don't, right? Like he got Ellie, and that's the only thing he needs. So like it's just like the lengths he will go to of like, yeah, this girl's gonna be my daughter, no matter what.
But like
no matter what.
Even putting that aside, that being where he's at now, the entire time that's who Joel's been. Joel is not a person. I'm not saying he doesn't feel bad about doing things.
Yeah.
But he is not a person who is looking to absolve, like repair the world in karmic payment.
He feels like he did what he had to do, and he doesn't feel bad about
exactly.
it.
He'll feel bad about the action of it, but he won't feel like he owes the universe something in return, that he is meant to do something to counter the balance of his bad
karma.
Yeah. Right. He's not a person who believes that.
Yeah.
That's not something he's ever bought into.
Yeah.
And so certainly once you get to this point, then he's entirely more selfish. Because before it's kind of more like ambivalence than it is selfishness. Now it's selfishness.
Yeah. Which again is almost worse, because like the lengths you will go to for the people you love and stuff is like it's awful.
Yeah, let's talk about one of those moments. So when they're walking through the military med zone, and he finally confesses to how he got that scar. How he was the man that missed.
And he flinched.
And he's telling Ellie this story. And then Ellie just lightheartedly, in recognition and support, it's like, I'm glad you didn't do that. Does it get any better? It's like, or is it time that heals all wounds? And it's like, it wasn't time that did it. That line and her reaction, that felt, and I'm pretty sure this was intentional, but it was like, I don't want to say uncomfortable, but it communicated. Joel was communicating that Ellie is now his reason for going on. And suddenly she is realizing that she is someone is relying on her.
Yes, 100%. Like, yeah, that's a great point, Phai, because like this whole season has been about like or Ellie relying on Joel, but now like Joel emotionally relies on Ellie.
So I want to read a quote. And this was from episode 5. It's easy. This is Joel saying this to Henry. It's easier when you're a kid. You don't have anybody else relying on you. That's the hard part. And now Ellie is now a fully cognizant that she is being relied upon.
Yeah.
Either for the first time in her life, or at least the most prevalent.
Yeah. And we'll talk about it when we get to the end after the rescue and stuff. But like, and I read it. It reads as kind of different from the game, because the way Pedro Pascal is performing, I don't want to get to it yet because I want to actually like discuss it in length. But so yeah, Joel's talking about committing suicide and surviving and being happy about it, like because of Ellie. And then they get.
I want to go off
please.
before you move on.
No.
I want to go to Phai's point. I thought you were gonna.
No, sorry.
Bounce off that. No, it's okay. That idea of Ellie realizing that he's relying on her.
Mm-hmm.
This is also not new for Joel. When we go back to episode 1, he is relying on Sarah.
Yeah.
And not just emotionally.
Yeah.
He doesn't take care of things.
Yeah.
Sarah takes care of things.
Forgets his birthday
at home. He puts that on her. And so we know very quickly, like once he's accepted this is the relationship with him and Ellie, it goes right into all his worst attributes of the things that he would put on his daughter, Sarah included, like what he would put on her. Now he's putting things on Ellie, things she's not ready for.
Yeah.
Especially when Sarah had the advantage of like growing up with him.
Yeah.
And like that relationship being kind of forged over time of what she was willing to do, whether or not, like, I'm not saying it's necessarily wrong at the age that Sarah was for a dad to be somewhat reliant on a kid, but like we saw specifically from the pieces that they showed us that Joel was a little absent-minded in terms of care. And when you factor that in, and then Ellie, who's never had that parental figure before, this is wholly unknown territory, and what that means and how that kind of love, because in some ways this is also like it's not quite be careful what you wish for, because I don't want to say that for Ellie, but it is you don't know what that relationship really means. Like Ellie had an idea of what she wanted from Joel, but she didn't really know what that meant to get that from Joel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The thing about Joel is like he is our protagonist. He is our lead, but I wouldn't call him a hero. I wouldn't necessarily call him a good person even.
He is a human.
So like it's so interesting. Like Joel has good qualities to him, like he can be loving, he can be, nurturing, like now and stuff. But I'm like protective, exactly. Like protective is his number one quality, if anything. Like, he cares for the people who are around him. But like Ellie is with a man who can be really unhinged. Like it's not like she's, with like an MCU superstar here. She's with a man who's done a lot of really bad things. And as much as he loves her and she loves him, like they're living in the apocalypse where this man is about to do some unspeakable things for her. And it's just like, it's crazy again, because it's just this little girl trying to live her life. And it's like, man, what a world.
And I think also in the scene that Phai is referencing, like in Bella Ramsey's performance, in Ellie in general, there is this sense of, while it is more than she anticipates and she can't fully grasp what this means, and it is Joel being reliant on her, there is a sense of like this. There is a sense of satisfaction in this is what I've wanted. Even if it's not exactly the way she imagined it, it is still what she wanted.
It's real. Yeah.
It is still in his own way, him saying, I love you and you're my daughter now, without saying those words. And it's her acknowledging that is what she wants. And I think just as much as Ellie saying what she said before this beat about, we can't go only halfway. We have to go all the way through. It's also her saying it because she needs to force herself to do it.
Because Joel won't.
Because it is appealing to her. I think the idea of go back, live the life watching movies that you never thought you'd have with me. And I do believe that even though Ellie understands that like they don't know exactly what could happen, I don't think she anticipates that the risk is with the Fireflies. The risk is what else might be on the way.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily the risk is with the Fireflies. And she's saying like, I'm pretty confident we're going to make it.
Yeah.
I think she believes, to me, the way that she plays it. I think she believes that like after that, I'll go wherever you go.
Yeah.
I'll follow you wherever. That's the life she's picturing is like after this, everything's peace.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a sample and we'll move on.
Yeah. Just a sample, quick sample, just a blood test.
Oh, wow. That's actually a really important detail. We'll bring it up later.
Yeah. Okay, so now that I said all that, like we can go on to your point, which is I think you were about to bring up the Fireflies nabbing them.
Oh yeah, no, I mean not a point, just moving
into the next beat.
Yeah. So like
shitty puns interrupted.
Yeah, they're about to
by
get some.
I can't believe we got to this section and we still didn't hear the pun involving soap.
I don't remember it.
Oh wait, what's that one? Wait, for the audience.
I have to remind myself of it. So give me a second.
Right.
Continue with your point. I'll come back to it.
Yeah. So like, yeah, they're at the Firefly place. Joel's ready to hear some jingles, some guffaws, some ha-has.
I remember it now. It's that I used to be addicted to soap. Don't worry, I'm all clean now.
Oh yeah.
Which for a hot minute when everyone was playing The Last of Us when it came out was like the memed one. It was the one that was going viral on the internet. It was the one that was getting comic strips and all kinds of things made out of it. It was the pun that really got everybody.
The pun heard around the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, Joel's ready to hear some puns, and then we see some people in the background, some really good, some blurry people. I'm like, oh, are those, what's going on? Clickers? What's happening here? And it's
Stalkers? Ryan's all stalkers?
Not this season. Come on, Neil.
I think the one that got Ellie's mom, Anna.
No.
Because they crawl. They crawl.
Yeah, but they do the stalking. They're not just full run. They do some stalks.
You want them to like corners. Hide.
That's the check mark.
I do actually have to give you credit and apology, Ryan. I have been rewatching the gameplay in the segment where they split up and Joel is underground trying to start up a generator. There were stalkers. There were like creepy crawlies that do start off like peeking around the corner and then they charge at you. But they were enhanced in the second game where they actually run away.
That's
stay quiet.
There's one part in the second game where it's just like you're up in like a really rainy building and it's just like full stalker section. I'm like, man, F this game. I hate this game. I hate the stalkers, but because I love them so much. But anyway, yeah. Fireflies show up, our guys get got, they get flashbanged, Joel gets whooped right in the face. And I'm sure he's having some sweet dreams. And he wakes up probably with a headache. And Marlene is there.
I bet he's not having a sweet dream.
No.
As we learned from when he talked to Tommy, every time he sleeps, he dreams about film.
I was just hoping that like getting a mild concussion would actually soothe his brain. You never know. You know, like the endorphins. You know how I don't know how it works. Marlene's back. What's up, Marlene? I haven't seen you in 8 episodes or the opening of this episode. Nice to see you again. Again, it's been 8 episodes since we said that, but like it is the Marlene from the video game. That is the one video game, like just 1-to-1. I think that's really great. That's fantastic.
No,
that's not entirely true.
There is actually another 1-to-1, but I'll save it.
Oh, sorry. Okay, that's fair. Okay, yeah. That's a cameo.
It's a consistent cameo.
That's true.
It
is actually a 1-to-1.
That is, yeah, and that they could actually do stuff with that for the future, which is actually really fun. We'll talk about later. But yeah, Marlene's there, like, yo, Joel, sorry, we didn't know it was you. You know, it's the apocalypse. So what are you gonna do? Joel's like, yo, where's my little girl? Where's my homie at? She's like, she's getting prepped for surgery. Don't worry, my guy.
Marlene clocks it very quickly that this is not the Joel that she left Ellie with.
Yeah.
This is a Joel that is invested. This is not a Joel that was willing to leave her and walk away.
This is a Joel that is Phai. What's our favorite word? What is Joel?
Dangerous.
activated.
Oh fuck!
I was gonna say
No, it's not my favorite word.
Dad-activated.
Mason
Joel's
ruined
in
it.
activation mode this episode from from the murder of the two homeboys. He's in activation mode, but he's like, yo, where is she? It's like, you can't, like, she's getting prepped, you can't talk to her, she's asleep, she's all doped up, and Joel's like not happy about it. Well,
because they're gonna take out her brain.
Yeah, like, well, I can't go see her, like, just to take out a little sample. And she's like, well, actually, because they're mushrooms, the cordyceps that grow in their brains. And you know what?
He's the one who brings up that it was.
He's the one that brings it up. Thank you. Cordyceps grow in the brains. I guess you can't just take a quick tissue sample. Just a quick lobotomy or two. You know how?
No, because the way they explain it is they believe that they need to get at the cordyceps inside of her that are producing this idea that she is one of them, so it makes the infected leave her alone.
Yeah.
And leaves her from turning. But that does come.
Yeah,
Joel's realization that that's in the brain.
Yeah, there's like a receptor that's like off for Ellie, that's on for everyone else, and they need that receptor. But you got to go deep in the brain. You got to get way deep in there. You got to crack that cranium.
And importantly, they went like, this is true in the game. This is true here. They go to this step without any steps in between pretty quickly. I'm like, I mean, I feel like we could have started with the blood sample.
Well, and again, like this is a decades old conversation that like is now being brought up again of like, they don't tell us this, so there's no reason to believe it. But like, there's no reason to think that the Fireflies haven't been doing research for 20 years.
Sure.
Or someone's been doing research for 20 years, and the only thing missing was Ellie. Like, we don't know that.
Right.
But if they have this much knowledge and they're like, hey, we need to go into the brain, they must have done something like this before. Like maybe Ellie isn't the only person in the entire world. Like maybe there's been one other. Like, we don't know, right? Like, so for me, they give you enough information. Also, it's not the point. Maybe it's like not even a point if it's supposed to work or not. It's about what Joel does, right? It's just the fact that Ellie has no agency, and Joel and the doctors don't give Ellie any agency.
Yeah, nobody gives her. Is it specifically like Joel and Marlene?
Yeah.
Let's just say Joel and Marlene because they're our two pinnacle characters, right? Neither of them give Ellie the choice.
Yeah.
Marlene thinks she knows what that choice would be, and Joel is afraid that he knows what that choice would be, and they both think it's the same thing, but they don't actually know.
Yeah.
And they're probably right. That's not really the point.
I do think Ellie would do it, but again, nobody asks her first.
Right.
They put her straight into anesthesia.
Marlene assuring herself in the justification that because she didn't instill a fear of death, that it was merciful.
I think also that part of this is, even though Marlene didn't become like a pseudo mom to Ellie, this is Marlene wanting to keep herself removed from Ellie. That she doesn't give her a choice because she can't bring her that choice.
You can tell she has. It's not like Marlene's happy about this. You can tell she's also conflicted about it, but she's got to make a tough choice.
I would assume that Marlene doesn't see Ellie. She knows she's brought in. She knows this is happening, but she probably doesn't see her because she probably couldn't do it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's very easily true. That part of this is forced out of Marlene lying to herself about it's better this way because she's not afraid.
And I wouldn't be shocked if Marlene also didn't get all the information until she arrived at the hospital before they did.
Oh, you mean like when she sent her out on this journey, she didn't know? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Because she obviously gets to the hospital before she does. So I'm like, I wonder if like while they're talking and like getting prep or whatever, like, so when she gets here, like, I just need you to know, Marlene, like, we have to go in the brain.
Well, because like importantly, like, I think if she did know that, this is like dumb speculation,
of course.
But like, if she did know that when she sends Joel on the mission, there would probably be some comment of if she really knew what it would be, right? Even if Ellie dies, get her body there.
Yeah.
Because if the assumption is that the cordyceps would still be in the brain, that's something they could look at up to a point.
Yeah.
So like, even if Ellie doesn't make it on the journey, get her body there.
Yeah. I do think that is, again, that's like just fun speculation, but like, I don't think Marlene knew until she got there and she's like, well, to save the world, we got to do what we got to do. And that's like, as much as she can care for Ellie, like, you know, that's the difference between her and Joel. Like, Joel doesn't care about the world.
And she even says it when she's talking with Joel, like, on some level, she assumed they didn't make it, that they just died on the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that part of her is trying to live in that space still.
Yeah.
As though she can lie to herself and say, Ellie wouldn't have made it or didn't make it anyway, so this really isn't that different.
Yeah.
I've already convinced myself to the idea that she died.
Probably got past her mourning phase pretty early.
Yeah. But I think like that's part of the key is that I can't see her, therefore I can't present her the choice.
And again, like the stakes here, whether like the cure will work or not, like the stakes here are incredibly high. Like this could potentially save the world. Like that is like, no matter how much Joel, no matter how much you love this girl, like the fate of the world potentially is at stake here, and that is the biggest odds in an apocalypse scenario. And it's like it's what makes Joel's decision just like, Jesus, man, Jesus, Joel, like
Jesus, Joel.
What again? Love is truly powerful.
I do want to touch back because you mentioned earlier about the importance of choice and how they're both scared and assuming the answers, scared of and assuming of the answers that Ellie would give if asked of this. And back in episode 6, Joel made it clear that it was important that Ellie have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
When debating between leaving her with Tommy or taking her himself.
Right. Well, so like, but that's also a lie in that moment. That's a small lie to cover himself, right? Because when he's there, he's been waiting by that horse. He's made the choice.
Yeah.
He knows what she'll say. He hides behind saying you deserve a choice. I think we brought this up then, that how that would reflect when we got to this point, hinting at, because we knew where it was going, that he's not being 100% honest there, because it's not really about her choice. It's about the fact that he made a choice. He made a choice at that point of who he was going to be to her.
Yeah.
That's why he didn't leave.
Yeah.
It wasn't about her having a choice about it.
Yeah. And
go ahead,
Pi.
There's one more important quote from episode 6, and it is Maria telling to Ellie, "The only people who can betray us are the ones we trust." This show has been so good at setup, foreshadowing. I am elated.
Yeah. Again, it's at the end of the day, it's Marlene and Joel, like these two. Marlene less so, but like still like parental figures, who aren't giving her the choice at the end of the day, which is again, it's just like, what are we doing here, yeah? Again, I still think Ellie would do it. Like I firmly believe like Marlene is on the right side here, but have a conversation, like man, it would have been like, I'm not saying this is what I want again 10 years ago. Like this isn't what I wanted from the game or anything, but like I could imagine that there is a conversation and Joel lets her go do it and then still decides, I won't let you do this. But it would change it would change everything. It would change everything. Yeah. And so like I'm glad again, like this decision of just like Ellie not really knowing what's going on. She just like, I don't know, maybe they knocked her out. Like I don't know how she gets knocked out. Like I'm assuming they needled her or something, like with anesthesia.
They gave her anesthesia.
In theory, still unconscious from the flashbang, and then they just kept her under.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot I didn't realize she got knocked out for the flashbang.
No,
sorry. Okay.
No, she didn't get knocked out from the flashbang. They captured her.
Yeah.
She was actually conscious and talking to the Fireflies. They just omitted the fact that she might die in this operation or will.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. They didn't tell her, like, we're going through the brain. Like, yeah, we're just going to take a liver sample. Oh, gotcha. That's kind of messed up. That's kind of messed up.
Yep. No, they consciously lied to her as well. They betrayed the trust.
Yeah. And again, like, that's not cool at all. Like, nobody's right here at the end of the day. Nobody's right at the end of the world. So Marlene realizes Joel is a threat. He's not just gonna belly down, just hang out. So she's like, yo, send him on his way. If he does anything, shoot him in the face. This is over, Joel. Sorry. Get over it. Sorry. We're gonna save the world. And then Joel's like, I ain't doing that. First of all, he does a real slow walk for about 5 minutes, and these guys are just like, go faster, old man. And then he gets them, then he clocks some dudes. And then he does the gut shot, the face shot, the whole thing from the game. Now we're just in the game. Now just the game's happening all over. Just we're in game mode.
We're mostly in the game through a lot of this.
That is true. That is very true.
But yeah,
He's on
for sure.
autopilot.
Yeah. Oh, dude, he
It's
totally
almost like a player took him over.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude. Like once he becomes activated, he has murder eyes. Oh my god, he has the most murder eyes he's ever had in a show I think I've ever seen in my life.
I don't even think it's. I think Phai's pretty accurate. I wouldn't even call it like murder eyes. It's just like it doesn't matter. I don't think like it becomes about.
No, it's not him being like a serial killer, but like he is desensitized to what he's doing.
He's disassociated.
He's disassociated because it's like an objective to
They're
him.
Just obstacles.
They're just obstacles.
They're not people anymore.
Again, like they're just things in his way.
He doesn't even just like the game. He doesn't look at the doctor when he shoots.
Yeah, and what I mean murder eyes is like there's a couple shots like when he's walking down the hallway, he is just like so focused, and his eyes are like squinty and like just really scary.
Yeah,
like he is again like he's activated. Like he is in like. There is my goal, and I don't care who shows up. I'm dealing with them, including, unfortunately, Marlene. And again, they do the exact same parallel of the game where they don't show what happens first.
Well, and I think it's part of what's good about
darker. I think
it's part of what's good about. Sorry, go ahead, Phai.
No. You go ahead. There was just the one statement of that. This felt much darker than in the game. Sadder.
Yes.
Yeah. I think because you're just watching it, but also because it's part of the sound design of that is feeding into what Ryan's saying, which is this like the world is fuzzing out around Joel. All that matters is getting to Ellie. It doesn't matter what else is happening. And I do think like this is an amount we've talked about before. Like I'm not saying Joel doesn't feel bad about killing these people. I'm sure Joel does, even in the moment.
It's not as
but it's not important. He makes a decision, and once he's made the decision, they are not people now. None of it, and he has to just like he completely falls out of the world as it was.
He's got Ellie blinders on.
Yeah. And the sound design and the way the camera is feeding into that like we're seeing the violence happening, but like this world is now broken around him. The music is somber and sad. The sounds are muffled and distant.
Phai, you actually called it because they didn't exactly do this, but you were like, what if it was like a silent montage almost? And that's kind of what it was. It was the music was really faded. It was like a distorted, and it was almost like a montage of just like this dude just gonna kill people for 5 minutes. And it's
not like an action scene.
No, it feels bad. And Phai, you're right. I do think it feels more effective because again, you play that game and you kill 200 people before you get to this moment. It is obviously still bad that you're killing these innocent people who are trying to kill you. But again, because we don't have that in the show, this is just Joel murdering a bunch of people that we haven't seen him do before.
It's also just the crafting of it, like between the mediums, it's what's allowed.
Yeah,
people have talked about it around this, and I think it's a fair, there's no way in the game to get Ellie without killing the doctor. You have to kill the doctor.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to not kill the doctor.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And everything in the lead up to that, because of game mechanics, is about how do I survive this? That's still a part of what you're thinking, even as you are playing the narrative of Joel being motivated to do this and saying he can't let go of Ellie, and whether you are in the moment agreeing with the character enough or not, like, as a separated person, not on a moral compass level, but on a, I want Ellie to continue being in this game
real quick
level.
Just to bounce off that, like also during that section, like these are like the most armored, like this is like the hardest part of the game where these are all armored like Fireflies. So like,
oh yeah, because it's the end of the game,
so it feels the most like a video game,
right?
Like even though you are like in the act of doing something bad, like you are in a hardcore video game section where you're killing dozens of people.
You have to think about every supply you have. You have to think about how you're going to use it. You have to think about the cover. You have to do all of this.
You're still in the game of it.
That's
everything you've learned
up
until this point.
Yeah. What, Phai?
Everything you've learned up until this point from the game.
Right.
Like all the tools you've collected.
Yeah.
This is it.
Right.
Use them all. Right.
Exactly. And this is not filmed in that way. This is not, there's a moment where Joel's taking cover, but it's not focused on long. It's just about the objective, and it's just focused on that. It's not, there's a lot of there's a lot of stop and go and slow down in the game that you have to deal with because, again, it's a game, and that's how these things work. And we're not given that with Joel here. It's not. He's constantly just in motion through this.
He's not crouching down to look into his backpack to use alcohol and scissors to make like a Molotov. You know, like it's just like
in an external perspective of this, he is essentially the Terminator, just mowing through these people.
Absolutely.
Oh God! Could you have imagined if he just picked up some random shears and a pipe and just taped them together and just swung it at people?
Doing
that would have been much.
And I'll say this about that. What I like about it in, again, like comparing the game mechanics to what we get here, the reason I like it as a character thing more is because like there's so much more thought into the violence that he's enacting in the game because of those things. Oh, I really should use, I'm having trouble here. I need to use my shears, I need to use my bomb, my whatever. Here he's allowed to disassociate more easily as a character. You're allowed to feel that sense because the violence is as simple as pulling a trigger.
Yeah.
Which there's nothing simpler in terms of committing violence than that.
Yeah.
It's essentially the same thing you do when you play a video game. You pull a trigger. And that's not the same as like rustling through a pack or like having to cobble together something. He's just simply reloading guns and firing.
Yeah.
And I think that helps allow the character to feel fully broken away from the world in what he's doing, and that this is purely about where he's headed and nothing else, and nothing will interrupt this thought process because nothing can.
Yeah. So yeah, he's rampaging, killing lots of dudes, more dudes than any man needs to kill. He finally gets to the hallway, and with the operation room, and opens that door. Ellie's on the table. You got the nurses, you got the doctor. Oh, can you look up the actor's name of the doctor to see if it is anybody famous?
Sure.
Because I was like, it's not immediately somebody famous, but
the important one. Can I say?
Please.
So like I before the episode like thought to myself, oh, that would be a place to actually put this one actress because she's like a voice in every video game, every anime, and every animated production ever.
Yep.
I was like, oh, like she was in that scene. That would be funny if. And then I saw it. The eyes. I've been watching way too much Critical Role. Could not recognize those eyes. Laura Bailey playing Nurse Number 1, who also played Nurse Number 1 in the video game.
Yeah, who also voices a main character from Last of Us 2. Doubt she'll be playing that character because she's twice that character's aged, but that doesn't really matter. But it is fun. I think
she just doesn't have the muscles.
Yeah. Oh, she can work out for a year.
True.
It is fun to hear the director.
No, Travis can play her. Travis can play.
Yeah, her husband Travis Dillingham, the guy who plays Thor in most MCU or Marvel things. Yeah. Seeing her is really fun. I definitely recognize her too. Phai, I am with you. I've watched hundreds of hours of Critical Role, so like I recognize and notice her immediately. So like it's fun that like again because Last of Us 2 stuff happens. Like we could potentially see her again. They didn't show her face, which is so they can be that character or a new character. Her showing
I just realized. She's the only voice actress who survived the HBO series.
Oh shit! Look at that.
No, he's.
I thought they were gonna kill them all.
A bunch of no. He's a bunch of extras.
Was he in Chernobyl? Because if he's in Chernobyl, then he's a Craig Mazin man. Again, if you've played the game, like this is like the most iconic thing. That's what this game is almost like known for. It's like when they were like writing the game, they're like, this is like one of the things that we were like thinking about is like this like huge choice that Joel has to make of killing this doc. He didn't kill the nerd. I'm glad they didn't turn Joel into a super monster.
No, he was not in Chernobyl.
Okay, thank you.
He's just an extra.
Just an extra. Cool. Okay. They could recast if they really want.
Or just a background actor, I should say.
Yeah. Oh man, I was going somewhere and I lost it. Sorry. No, it's okay.
The not killing the nurses.
Yes, thank you. Because in the game you can choose to kill the nurses or not. And I'm glad that they didn't go full total monster with Joel. He asked them to turn around, which was really nice. But he did kill that doctor, which makes sense. He gets Ellie, he picks her up, runs out of the hospital, Almost makes it out, runs into Marlene, the final girl. And God bless Marlene, y'all. She doesn't immediately shoot Joel, which she should have. She did just shoot that man in the face. For real. He just murdered her entire crew and like maybe one of the last doctors on the planet, right? She's like, Joel, it's not too late. It is still not too late. She puts her gun down. We can fix this. Think about what you've done.
And it is very much like
driving away.
Why doesn't Marlene shoot him?
Because she's a firefly. She's too good of a person.
So
no matter how hard she is, she still will do the right thing. Even the right thing is still saving the world, in my opinion. So,
See, I was thinking, and you could be right too. Like I was thinking she didn't want to risk harming Ellie.
Yeah, but
shooting Ellie in the shoulder or the arm won't kill her. Like you know what I mean? Like
a headshot would have been really hard because
if she shoots Joel in the head and he goes down, Ellie might get a bump.
Yeah, she'll be fine.
But she's not gonna. Yeah.
That is an important choice because it could have been a thing where like there's like a minor shootout or something like. But Marlene doesn't do that, and I think that is really important because it shows what type of person Marlene is and what type of person Joel is. And unfortunately, in that situation, the type of person Joel is wins because he shoots her.
Well, it does also show what type of person. It does also show what type of person Marlene is because Marlene, when she gets shot in the gut, says, "Just let me go," and Joel's right. If he lets Marlene go, Marlene will come after them.
Yeah,
she's not going to stop.
Yeah,
and
that was her mistake.
Marlene knows that too. Like Marlene will come after them.
Yeah, and it's just
again, I think part of not shooting Joel, to be honest, for Marlene is at this point Ellie will wake up at some point before they get her under again.
Yeah,
and killing Joel will not get her on the side of doing this.
It's true.
Oh, ooh.
I think to Marlene, the only way is to convince Joel that this is the right thing to do.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Because you're right. He's probably not the only surgeon that could do it, but he probably was the only one on site
in the tri-state area.
Yeah. So she knows like Ellie will wake up before we get another crack at this. Yeah. And if I shoot Joel, she's not going to do this.
Yeah. She could have lied to her, but like I think Ellie would have known.
Right. It's going to be a much harder path.
Yeah.
If she shoots Joel, and I think that might be Marlene's main motivation to not do it.
Yeah. And again, like straight from the game, like Marlene's on the ground saying, just let me go.
And we're getting the back and forth stuff while they're driving.
Well, no, that's what I was gonna say because it cuts before Joel shoots her, and we don't know if he gave Ellie away or not.
Which happened in the game too.
It happens. This is 1 for 1 from the game. And Joel's driving. He's got a pensive look. And he looks in his rear view. He's got Ellie with her.
You hear her first, and then you see her.
Yeah. And you know what that means. That means, and then we cut back to it. You'll only come after her. Shabam! Right in the face. Like, God damn it, Joel. And again, I've played this game multiple times. I know this is happening, but it's still like, oh, Pedro, you're so good at this. You're such a good actor.
The disconnect, like completely, like so. Troy's performance in that scene was anger. He's like,
yes,
or just like a cold resolve of you just come after her. But then Pedro's performance of just like you just come after her. But that felt.
No, I get what you're saying.
I know it's more disconnected.
Exactly, it's just so matter of fact.
While Troy Baker's has that tinge of emotion inside of it, Pedro's is absent all emotion.
Yeah.
It is empty. It is purely fact. It is purely the reality of the situation. This is why you must die.
Yeah.
He is numb.
Right.
Comfortably numb, even. Yeah, man. Brutal stuff. And then Ellie wakes up and Joel's like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Do they have a conversation in the car or is it then they start walking before they do?
She asks some questions and he says stuff about there were other kids.
That's right. There's dozens
other infected that they tested on. They got what they needed from you. They've actually given up. There's no reason to think about this anymore. It's not on you.
Yeah.
They've given up on finding a cure.
And then
she figure it out.
She in the car turns away.
Yeah.
Clearly not happy about what she just heard.
Right.
And then their car breaks down or something, and they're like, "All right, we got."
They just run out of gas,
or they run out of gas. Yeah, like, "All right, we got to do a 5-mile hike. We can do that, right? Haha, remember that callback?" And she's like, "Yeah, that is cute. Yeah." And and this is what I want to talk about earlier. The way that Joel starts talking to her is very different.
Yes.
And it feels almost creepy.
Yes.
Okay, I'm glad you read that too.
No, I read it too.
The way he starts talking to her about Sarah and like, oh man, you guys would have been such great friends. You know, you're just like her, but like she had a better smile. Not that you don't have a great smile. Like it was weird, and it was obviously intentional. And I'm like, oh my god, Joel, you don't know how like you are like digging yourself into this girl so hard. It's like almost like
I think again, this is also like connected to the Joel dissociated out of himself to get Ellie back.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he regrounded himself.
Yeah.
After that.
He had something like
not
snapped.
to say that he never will, but in this moment, fresh after it, he's still living in an illusion now.
Yes.
An illusion of his own lie.
Yeah.
And he wants to grasp at that so hard and grasp at what he wants out of it so hard that he's going very heavy with his references to Sarah and his comparisons of her and Ellie and like what very blatantly, like, not only this is not the same as the beginning of the episode where he's kind of trying to like bring Ellie out because he wants to see the girl that he is happy to be around. This is him desperately screaming out, I need you to be this. Yeah. I need you to be this now because this needs to be the thing that I did all that for.
I need my life to be how it used to be.
Yeah.
And
I did all that.
Yeah.
Be the thing I need you to be because of that.
Go ahead, Phai. It's such an interesting change that I really like.
Well, I mean, like it's kind of like similar exchanges do occur in the game, but like in this one, the way Pedro's performing it and how it feels, it's like at first it can be endearing. It's like, oh yeah, you two would have been cool. You know, you're funny, and she had a good sense of humor as well. But the way he's saying it, it feels like it's like you're on a date and the guy won't shut up about his ex.
Yeah. Oh my god, that is 100% it. Yeah, and like he's trying to impress you with another woman's like stuff. Yeah, that's a good point. Oh man, yeah, it was so weird. It's like Joel. Like you're so right. But like he is like so like in denial. Like he does not want to think about the things he had to do to get to this point. So he's just like, all right, thinking about the future, thinking about my daughter. This is my daughter now. You're my daughter. You are my daughter, right? Like it's like he's trying so hard, and he didn't need to try this hard before.
And I think like predominantly like he's now speaking value to the relationship with Ellie that is not actually about his relationship with Ellie, because he's had a great relationship with Ellie, but Ellie is a different girl from Sarah.
Yeah.
And he's suddenly trying to make them the same.
Yeah.
And they're not, and they never have been. And even when she says that, like, I'm not her, and he's like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And he did know then. And the things he values in his relationship, he has in certain ways, a closer relationship with Ellie, because Ellie is a lot more like him than Sarah was. But that means that they were different. And he is now speaking to things that Ellie's not going to recognize herself in, because these things aren't her.
Yeah. It's almost like
she's not being seen.
Yeah. It's almost like he's getting a new Sarah. Like he's replacing Sarah with a new Sarah instead of like an Ellie. Like he's like, it's not that he's it's obviously super early. He's not like molding Ellie to be Sarah, but he's like, now I'm back to where I used to be 20 years ago with my daughter. I want it to be like how that used to be.
Well, and I think the other thing like you could take away from it to some extent of what Ellie's seeing in the way that he's presenting all this language to her right now is that we know because of how this goes at the end that she doesn't believe Joel's story. She chooses to accept it.
Yeah.
Because of a myriad of reasons that she could have chosen. Like, we don't get a definitive answer on that. It could have been that the alternative was too horrifying. It could have been that she chooses him and she chooses to love him, and therefore in choosing that chooses to believe this, even though it's a choice, not an actual belief. There's a lot of reasons that she could do it. But what Joel is presenting, what I think is painful on some level, and what I think feeds into this idea of what did you do? What really happened is that Joel's saying, I saved Sarah. I didn't say go in there and save Ellie. I saved Sarah.
Oof.
Because that's who he's projecting her into right now.
Yeah.
When he went through all this, what he just did, what he went in there to save, intentionally or not, was his surrogate daughter of Sarah.
Yeah.
That idea of Sarah that he's put into Ellie. That's who he went in there to get.
Yeah.
And that's maybe not how he'll be forever, but it is how he is in this moment.
Righting the wrong of 20 years ago. Man, it's really complex, man. It has some complex emotions going on. In a way, again, different from the game, so it's not just 1-to-1, where it is a little more like, Joel, are you all right, man? Like, I know you just murdered a bunch of people, but like, are you also okay?
Yeah.
With everything.
I want to touch on like if what Ellie would be experiencing in this moment too. You know, like she is recognizing that he is projecting more than usual, and in stark contrast to what occurred in episode 6, where we got actually moments between them where they were kind of in sync, and that might have been like the best the relationship was ever going to get. Because now it's they started with Joel kind of like being, you know, the one she was looking up to. And now they've wound up on the complete opposite end where Joel is leaning into her and she's recognizing it. And she desperately wants to communicate something to him, and they finally lets it out of, you know, it's like, swear to me, but starting with like, hey, let me tell you about my life real quick leading up until this point. I want to tell you how I feel. And then he interrupts her.
Right.
And that's frustrating. You know, you could see it in Bella's performance that she's just like, no, swear to me.
Because then she's also in that moment, I don't want to hear this. This isn't the thing I'm looking for. Whatever you're trying to do is not what I want right now.
Yeah.
So she's not hearing it either, and her internal voice is screaming at her, just ask him. Yeah. Ask him the thing. Yeah. Ask him the thing that you're afraid of. You got to ask him. Ask him now.
And again, it's the thing of Joel did all this. Yes, he did it for Ellie, but really he did it for himself.
Right.
Yeah.
And the love that he feels being around Ellie is almost more important than what Ellie herself is actually feeling. And that is just really unfortunate. And that is the thing about relationships. Like when you're in like a one-sided relationship with someone, you don't realize it. You know, whether it's friendship or romantic or like family, any of it. Like Joel's projecting so hard, and he doesn't realize like he's basically like Ellie's not even there. Like he's just like, look, I got a daughter again. Isn't this great? You might as well be a curly haired Danny Newton daughter, as far as I'm concerned.
And what Ellie she really wants, what Ellie really wants right now is assurance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, because like in that car,
assure me.
In that car, like it's not like, again, like you said, like they didn't grow up together, but like Ellie and Joel are similar type people, and she knows when he's lying to her. She knows it.
And that's that is the other thing, is that no two ways about it at this point in her life. Joel is the most important person to her. He is the person she cares about the most. Mm-hmm. And she knows he's lying. And she knows he's lying to her.
Yeah.
And that she has to accept how she's going to move forward with that being a truth, that she can't get this person who she loves the most to be honest with her.
And again, like I love this ending so much, and like it is on the outskirts of Jackson. They are about to start their new life together, but it's about to start on a lie, and she needs to know. Like it is so good to be on, like, you know, you see that town, and like this is where this final conversation happens, and it's so beautiful. And like Joel just being like, I'm not lying to you, and Ellie's just like, all right, I guess I have to accept this, because what am I gonna go run into the woods? What else am I gonna do? It's like, it's so good. And then like for years, people are like, you know, do we need a Last of Us sequel? And while I don't think that game is perfect, I think it really capitalizes on that ending really, really well. And like the choice that Joel makes and the ramifications of that for years to come affects so many people.
Well, I will go back to just kind of what you just said there, because I was definitely one of those people where, and I would say the same even coming out of the show's finale, is that I don't think The Last of Us needs a sequel.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs it.
Yeah.
I think it's fine for it to have it. I think it's great if it's following up on good character stuff and all that kind of, like I haven't gone through it myself all the way, but I don't think the ending of the game or the ending of this season demand it.
Yeah.
I think you have your whole story. I think the ending is the ending.
Yeah.
Here. And what comes after is following it, but it's fresh and different and its own thing. Your whole story is here. Your ending point for this story is here.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that the show ended it in the same way that the game did.
Yeah.
As Craig Mason rightly pointed out on the official podcast, if you change the ending of The Last of Us, you're a fucking idiot.
You changed the game. You changed. Yeah.
It's true. Like, one of the reasons the game was impactful to me for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons was because of how it ended its story, where it decided to say, and that's it. And I'm happy there's more, especially for the television show. I'm happy to return to these incredible performers and everything like that. But God damn it, do I love that ending.
Yeah.
I love that ending. And if they hadn't decided to do anything more with the show, if the games kept going and the show stopped here, I'd still be happy with this.
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
still be like, this is such a good story, top to bottom, even stopping right here.
It's incredibly funny you saying that because, again, we are people who played the game a decade ago, and then we had to wait 7 years for a sequel. And then this is a season 1 whose season 2 was announced before the end of season 1.
Mm-hmm.
So people online, not saying this in a negative way, people online think this is a cliffhanger. Whereas for us, it was just the end of a game for almost a decade.
Yeah.
Whereas this actually now, technically, it's a cliffhanger because now all this needs to get resolved. And I just think that is it's not a negative or positive. It is just a fundamentally different thing now that part 2 exists and we're going to get it considerably faster than the sequel game.
Sure.
And I just think that is a really interesting way to think and to be in, because people view this of like, oh shit, I have to wait a year to find out how this gets resolved, whereas we didn't even consider that was a thing that was going to happen.
Right.
I just think that's
so.
really
There's
interesting.
confirmation. There's confirmation that season, like the second game, is going to be split into 2 seasons.
Yeah, they're writing it right now. Like, it is. Yeah. It will be happening sooner than 7 years for sure.
I want them to wait 2 years to release the first part.
I know.
I have to say, like, with a total acknowledgement that maybe I'm giving myself too much credit as a media literate person at this point in my life, but I really truly feel like even if I hadn't played the game and I just saw this season, I'd be satisfied with this ending.
Oh yeah.
I think that the ending, I don't think the ending reads as a cliffhanger. I don't think it did in the game. I don't think it does in the show.
Yeah.
I admit that I obviously have knowledge that the story goes on. But I don't think that's how I'd look at it. I think I'd look at it as like what it is, which is like it's not a question mark. It is a period.
Yes.
It is a period. It's maybe on an uncomfortable sentence. It leaves questions in your mind, but
yes.
I do think it ends on a period.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It's just the fact that a season 2 was announced.
Yeah.
That period for a lot of people is a question mark because they're like, oh, I want to see how Joel's actions get solved in season 2.
To me, the best way I could possibly interpret it, I wouldn't go to question mark, but I would go to ellipses.
Dot.
Yeah. No question mark, just
dot.
Okay. Dot.
Yeah.
And it's like so
Ellie will return.
But to me, truly, like, the ending has always felt like it is an end. It is a period on the statement of The Last of Us. This first part of the story, what this was. This is it.
Yeah. We talked about it a little bit, but not too much. But like the music, again, having the game, the guy who did the music for the game, like,
how could you not
having like the ending literally be like, again, 1 for 1. Like, when you're adapting something, like, if something's perfect, you don't need to change it. And that's what a lot of this show is. Of like, what is so incredible about The Last of Us adaptation just goes to show that original source material is as good as everyone said it was. It is one of the greatest pieces of video game art of all time. Like, it is a story worth exploring more of. And it's just really cool of like that, like HBO, which is like the gold standard of premier television, 1-to-1 to video game. Right. And I just think that's like, man, that's really exciting. And that's really cool for the future of video game adaptations.
But still, like, left room for choices.
Yeah.
And left room for distinctions. And I think certain things about the show are better partially because of time and consideration of how we are representing certain characters,
Uh-huh.
and partially because of the medium.
Yeah.
That it's allowed to tell the story in a way that I think is an improvement over what the game did or was capable of doing.
Yeah.
But goddamn, does it look good? I'm very pleased that it comes to the full fruition of what it was as a game. Oh, I was gonna say I'm really glad you brought up the composer, because we said, like, it's very 1-to-1 in this finale, except again, we were talking about the sequence where Joel's killing all the fireflies and everything, that they bring in the composer's music in a very, very strong and sad way. This is not a moment that's in the game. This is not how this music is laid into this part of the game.
It's used in a different part.
It's in a different part, right? But I think it was a great choice.
Mm-hmm.
I think it really, really works for the story that we get on television.
I agree.
So what parts did they use it in, Sparkz?
What part did they use it in?
Yeah, do you remember?
No, God, no. I just know it's from a different part of the game, because I remember Craig Mazin talking about taking it from a different point.
It is in the hospital, but they use it when he's carrying Ellie out.
That's right. Oh yeah, they said that.
Oh, like when you're getting shot at from behind and you're just running. Yeah.
I thought that was like really creative, because in the game, you're playing, there's no music or anything. It is just work as usual,
Yes.
And then you get to that emotional climax of him, reliving that situation of carrying his now new surrogate daughter out.
Well, and because the music can't, again, like, we're backtracking a little bit, like the music can't function in that scene the way that it does in the TV show, because there's too much stop and go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That music would go on for forever, and it would stop feeling, it wouldn't feel appropriate to the action that you're having to take in the game. But in the show, I think it expands on the emotion of what they're doing with Joel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, because I was going to say, in contrast, and not as a negative, a lot of this show is actually in contrast to the game, and if not through visual representation, you'll notice that a lot of the characters end up swapping places in certain shots, so they're not necessarily one-for-ones. They're kind of like echoes or mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
But now using the sad music in this game can kind of imply, to the audience that this is sad, because it is a moment of Joel losing his humanity in this moment.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
While he is maintaining like the will of a parent to protect their child at all costs in the games, like when you play the music, it's sad, but you kind of feel a little like hopeful and or not hopeful, but like, what's the word? Endeared. You are endeared to Joel carrying Ellie out of the hospital, but in this one, you are crying for Joel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is definitely, again, like losing the perspective of you being Joel, like really does a lot to this adaptation.
Yeah. Oh my God, that reminds me of another thing that I thought of, where so the game is remarkable, because like while in most games it does like present itself more of a choice of the player can project himself onto the character. While for certain gameplay moments that can be true for the game, but the game does something very good at making you, Joel, like you feel what he's feeling. You are experiencing every moment that he feels, and that's not something that the show can necessarily do, nor need it to do. Joel is now just a guy who we're observing. We can't be him through gameplay. You both of you have talked about this in length in previous episodes of this. I'm just impressed that how it could be so different yet so similar.
Yeah, it's just really impressive. Again, one, having Neil Druckmann, the writer of the game, helped, but also having Craig Mazin, who was just like an incredible talent, like an incredible creator, incredible director, writer himself. Like a beautiful collaboration. Like it's, again, like I don't know if like like I know Cyberpunk, like the anime, like there's a lot of like correlation, but like it wasn't this where like the creator of that game also wrote and directed, produced, was on set, is doing the official podcast for it. Like it is a true video game upgrade. That is really, really cool.
And I think that's an important part of it, is having Druckmann there. But I think the other part is it's not just having Craig Mazin, it's the fact that Craig Mazin is both a passionate fan of the game.
Yeah.
And cares very much about executing the story, and especially about expressing through the medium of television, which he's very familiar with, what the game made him feel. And I think that those two factors are super important. It's both ends of that side. It's that he had so many things that made him react to The Last of Us, that made him feel something that was so impactful to him. That is why he cared about it so much. That he also has the mind to understand, how can I translate that to a television show? Because I can't do the exact same thing for all those beats.
Yeah.
I have to change it. How can I get that same reaction from an audience that I got as a player? And I think that is key to why The Last of Us is the success that this show has been. That and incredible casting and incredible production.
Absolutely. Well, do we have any final thoughts on this episode before we do some mind? There's not, because it's the end of the game and we've talked about a lot of the game stuff, but there is one specific thing I want to talk about Last of Us 2 with Phai. But do we have any final thoughts on this fan-magtastical final episode?
Looking forward to season 2.
In 18 to 24 months, probably.
Yeah, I really love it. I love it, and it's really nice because I think The Last of Us game is its own experience, which I also love. But I've wanted to talk with more people than I've been able to about the story of the game, who just won't play it or won't sit through a playthrough of it, or anything like that. And it's nice that now there's this, which I'm like, actually, this is a perfectly fantastic way for you to engage with this story. So please go ahead, and then we can talk about it.
Because all the major stuff that is from the game that you want to talk about is here, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, besides, like, obviously a bunch more action.
Yeah.
But all the emotional, all the stuff that's important to the game is here.
Right.
I did want to bring up one more point again, back to what I had mentioned for episode 5. What if they had a chance to say goodbye?
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like there needs to be a moment of catharsis like that in the third game. I really want them to recognize, have the characters say goodbye.
Oh boy, howdy. It was literally today announced. Naughty Dog has said that they're working on another game, and it's not The Last of Us 3. So boy howdy, with how long they work on games, that game ain't coming out for at least like 8 years.
Right.
Like, so season
Fine.
3, I guarantee big time jump in that in third game. Big time.
Oh yeah.
I'm feeling it.
Oh yeah.
Like there's a 5-year time jump in 2. I bet you it's even more in 3. Because at the end of that story, like, I don't know why you would need to do a story from 2 to 3 that's only a year apart. You need some time to pass for stuff to happen. But
did you watch my TikTok?
I haven't yet. I will. Sugar Daddy Loot Drop, so I will. One thing I want to talk about from Last of Us 2.
If you don't want to hear anything from the game,
it's not even really a big. I'm not going to spoil it because it's not a part you've been to yet, really. But Phai, did you recognize the house from the beginning of the episode?
Oh yes, it looks pretty. I don't think it's the same house, but it is reminiscent.
It's the layout. Again, like just like we watched the Scream movies recently, and like they go back to that original Stu Macher house. Like I am like 95% sure that house we see in this episode might be a big significant house in part 2, because that stairs layout, that big openness in the front yard. I'm just saying, how poetic would it be? I'm just saying.
Oh God, were they?
I think they're good at that. They're good at that shit. That laying the foundations for season 2. Part 2, the same.
It would be nice. It would be nice, but I am going to be a pessimist in this aspect. But it does look very close.
It does.
To that.
It does.
To that
that's all.
architecture.
That's all. There's not much to speculate anymore because again, this last episode was so one-to-one of the game. We talked about everything we needed to.
I do actually have some speculation.
All right, so let's officially say, if you don't want to know anything about The Last of Us Part 2, or what might be coming down the line for the show, that's totally fine. Go ahead, bounce out. I'll say it now that I'm sure around the time when we're leading up to that second season, the three of us will get back together and we'll have a discussion about that game and what we are thinking will happen with the show.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And that'll be a whole discussion we'll do at a later date.
Yeah, give me in a couple years, enough time has passed to replay that game. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thanks for stopping by, friends. But now it's game time.
All right, bet. Go ahead, Phai.
Game time. So in awe of the foreshadowing and setup in the show, I think it was a really good idea for them to show in David's group the daughter of the man that Joel killed.
Hannah.
Just to kind of imply that Joel's violence hurts people.
Has an effect.
I was thinking about that actually myself, that
100%.
like including that group and this idea of like, I don't assume that Hannah would be part of Abby's crew or anything related to that in the second one, but it certainly does feel like if you told me she was, it would make sense that you could go that route.
I don't necessarily mean to imply that she would be a part of the group of revenge.
No. I know you don't. I'm agreeing with you that like thematically it is tying into the setup of what happens in the consequences of Joel's actions in the second game, that it is still laying the bedrock of that same idea. While it might not be Hannah literally, those exact same kind of people are out there who have been affected by Joel's actions.
Yes. Yeah, no, you are right, Phai, about like foreshadowing of like, here's the significance of Joel's actions and how it impacts people. And that is literally what the entirety of The Last of Us 2 is about.
But I thought about that specifically with Hannah. I thought about that when we were watching that episode last week. I just didn't bring it up much because I didn't want to.
That's
for the speculation area.
No, yeah, I also felt that. I thought it was smart, very smart.
Yeah, a lot of things are smart. Having Henry say, "I am the bad guy. I did the bad guy thing," you know, to Joel. It's like, congratulations, you are now the bad guy.
I will replay The Last of Us 2 closer upon season 2 coming out, but like, you know, I am mixed on that game. For game reasons and story reasons, very much like God of War Ragnarok. I think it's a great sequel, but like it has a lot of problems that the first game just simply doesn't have.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
we did a whole God of War Ragnarok review. You should check it out, boy.
I was gonna, but
I'm just kidding. You don't have to watch
I wish I was a part of that episode because I really fucking loved the second game so much. I think it's great.
It's just not a 10 out of 10 like that first game is. Anyway, there are core story things that they can't change because that's what the story is, but removing so much of the random violence that you do throughout all these games will significantly make that story more impactful, I think, because it is a situation of like The Last of Us 2 is about Ellie and her downfall into just being a really violent person. But if you're playing 12 hours of her killing random people and then she's killing serious people, like there's no disconnect because you're just always killing people. So like if we take away a lot of that, like again, like random video game violence, I think the story will work better for me significantly. And I'm really excited. Because I think there is some truly good shit in that second game, but it's also just mired by other decisions I don't care for so much.
Wall-to-wall violence.
Just wall-to-wall violence, which again, it's the point of the story, but I think turning it into a television, cinematic thing will help that story a lot.
I think, and again, I'm a person who hasn't played the second game all the way through, partially because I've been afraid of the knowledge of people's reactions to it. But anything, any kind of thing where you are essentially constantly doing wall-to-wall anything is tiresome.
It could be overwhelming.
And I think like violence end to end is rough.
Yeah. And like
it's not the violence, it's the scrap picking up of game 2.
12 people, it's like
there's so much of it.
Yeah, video games be video games, no matter what. No matter how serious you can get, you got to pick up some alcohol and some scraps to make some Molotovs. Yeah, I'm so excited. Like again, like this is such a success. And like,
how much can we tell about the second game? Are we tiptoeing completely, or do we just?
No, yeah, I don't want to, because like I know he'll eventually play it, and like I don't like he played the beginning part, so like he knows like he knows about Abby and all that stuff. So like he just didn't beat it, so I don't want to get to later stuff.
Wait, did you make it to like Seattle or?
He didn't play 12 hours of it now.
Okay.
I can tell you where I'm at the first city that Ellie and the girl get to on horseback.
Okay, so it's Seattle. You just get to that first open world.
I know a man is dead, and I know why.
A golf club.
For yeah.
That's why I'm like that is such a like a risk to do, to like to take out one of your leads like that, and like specifically for a TV show, that's gonna be people are gonna be mad. Oh man, I can't wait.
That's why I'm really hoping that those who were paying attention to this first season have picked up on the clues that this is not a good thing. You should not be championing this. You just need to understand it.
Joel,
I do. When you play the game, yes, you empathize. You're heroic.
Unfortunately,
you're brutal with him.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there have been people who have been like, "Oh man, they really just like made him bad, didn't they? I liked it better when he was more heroic in the finale, or morally gray at least, rather than just like out and out he's the bad guy."
Oh yeah, the way he was like, just like beating people with pipes to death and stabbing them, like totally. Like, he's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a calm, rational person.
Yeah, media literacy all time low these days, y'all. Yeah. Do we have any final thoughts before we
I got one.
Exit our Fake Nerds Watch? What's up? What's up, Phai?
I just want to remark that if there are themes to pick up on from the first game, first iteration, first story of The Last of Us, that is a story about love and loss. And going into the second game, if we were to prepare anybody for a theme, without spoiling anything, this one's about hatred and forgiveness.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, a great quote. Because again, when a show ends, the creators go on tons of more interviews than normal and stuff. So like I listened to an interview with Neil and Craig, and they were talking about like, hey, this is a great a smashing success. Like 8 million people watched the finale. Like it's huge. This is a huge television show, right? And they're like, so like, does that mean you guys are gonna do like 8 seasons of The Last of Us? Is this gonna be like like our next big thing? And they're like, hell no, hell no. We signed on to do the first 2 games. Or sorry, there's only 2 games. We signed on to do 2 games. That is all we're gonna do. What happens after that? Like obviously we would love to do more if another game comes out, but we are telling a self-contained story of these 2 games over 2 to 3 seasons, and that will be the end unless more stuff happens. We're not doing season 4 with factions. We're not telling original stories. We are telling the games of The Last of Us 1 and 2. And I think that's awesome, because they specifically said, Neil Druckmann said, I do not want to get Game of Thrones. I don't want to be working on season 5 when we don't have a story. And I think that's awesome. And I love that HBO, who is probably the best at this, who is like, yo, you don't need another, like Watchmen, huge success. That show does not need another season, right? If you don't have a story, don't do it. Don't force it upon somebody. Right. So I think this is fantastic. Like, just do the story that you want to tell. When that 3rd game comes out in a decade, come back to it if you want to. Don't force it. Never force it. Love it.
Sparkz, final thoughts?
I echo what Ryan said. Fantastic show. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to be motivated to want to go back and play part 2. The sequel to one of my favorite games of all time. We'll see how I feel. We'll have a discussion. It'll be good.
You'll feel. I want to be there. I want to talk. If you do, I want to be on an episode.
Hi, you're.
If we're doing anything Last of Us related, you're there.
Yeah, 9 episodes in, you were in it together forever, baby. You're the Last of Us man now.
I might ask for other shows, but we'll see.
Hey man, you're welcome anytime that we can schedule it.
You want to
You're
talk
always
about
welcome.
the Wendy Williams show with me?
I thought
Let's
you were
do
gonna
it.
say the Mandalorian.
Wait, the what?
Wendy Williams, she's a TV show host. I was joking.
All right. I will lead us into our wrap up then. This has
Ooh.
been our final episode for season 1 of The Last of Us. As we said, you will see us all get together again to talk about The Last of Us more.
Ooh, actually, real quick, because Ben won't watch this, there will be one more piece of Last of Us content coming out this year near Halloween.
Oh yeah, that's true.
We're gonna put
That's
our friend
true.
Ben Magnet through The Last of Us on grounded mode. Oh, I'm sorry, is it called grounded mode?
If you know
Grounded.
we love Spooktober season, you know we love to make Ben play spooky games.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna make Ben play some Last of Us. Hopefully he'll have watched the show by then. We'll try. We're
We'll
gonna
try.
try and make him watch the show by then.
But yeah, we're gonna put him through a level of grounded, like probably one like the museum level, which
We're
you
gonna
saw
put
in
him through the
show,
very first clicker section.
and just put him in grounded and throw
Just
him in.
drop him in the game.
Like, all right, survive, make it through the level.
Good luck.
So we'll see that in like 6 months, 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, go
Uh,
ahead and check that out.
hell yeah.
We'll be back again to talk about The Last of Us Part 2 game and speculation for what the show will do at some point, probably next year.
18 to 24 months.
And that'll do it. And then we'll all get back together again for season 2. So
Hell
we'll
yeah.
see you then. In the meantime, Fake Nerds Watch has other shows. We are about to start The Mandalorian. We're going to be doing the first 3 episodes. That'll be out in about a week. So you can check that out. We're doing that with our co-hosts, Brandon and Ben. It's our first Fake Nerds Watch show of the year where we're all 4 going to be together.
Sure.
Meanwhile, Brandon's continuing his Star Trek Fake Nerds Watch stuff over on Picard. I hear it's going great. Good for him.
Hell yeah.
Pause Menu just had a new episode out at the time of recording today.
It's about
That's
the-
about the Nintendo 3DS.
Yeah, I watched half of it.
And Ben did that with a Orbalology.
Orbalology.
Orbalology. I had to spell it multiple times. It's Orbalology.
Yep.
And you can go check that out. That's here on the Fake Nerd Podcast channel. We do our Basement Arcade episodes. They've been a little bit on hiatus, but we're hoping to ramp up in the second half of the year. Fake Nerd Podcast, we just recently talked about the 6th Scream film. Can you believe it? Scream, the franchise that just can't be beat.
Oh, I didn't
Bangers.
I didn't make the joke about this episode. Can you believe there was another great episode of The Last of Us? I forgot to make that
no.
joke. Damn it.
I can now. Can
you
I say
believe
something
there's
about
another good Scream film? Just dang,
Hot dog.
that franchise.
Good
Can I
franchise.
say something about the new Scream film?
Huh?
Can I say I have something I want to say about the new Scream film?
No spoilers.
I won't name names, but I'm glad we have a new pincushion.
Okay, got it.
You'll know what that means.
I'm with you. I also yes. Okay. Yeah. So we did that. We're doing Shazam: Fury of the Gods coming up this week. So if you want to check that out, that'll be going on. All kinds of stuff always happening on this
Shazam.
channel. So come check it all out. We're having a great time. Oh, you know what? If you're interested in film scores, I can say this. We're close enough to the release. Brandon and a friend of the podcast, Jeremy, who does our musical intros and outros for the show, we're launching a new show. It's called The Real Score, and that's all about talking about film scores. It will release 1 episode a month, and our first episode comes out next Monday, so you can check that out.
Whoop, whoop.
We are talking about The Batman, composed by Michael Giacchino. It was great. We had a great time, so I'm really looking forward to that show coming out.
Whoop, whoop.
All right, cool. That's it. You can find me at Sparkz Witty on Instagram and Twitter, SPARKZ Witty. Where can they find you, Phai?
Here at Sugar Daddy Loot Drops, and that's Loot, Lute, for those just listening. On TikTok.
All right.
Yeah.
And
Ryan?
Ryan?
You can find me just loving Papa Pedro, pulling double duties as Joel and Mando at DJ Tony Snark 616.
Hashtag Double Daddy Pedro.
Hashtag Double Daddy Pedro.
Double Daddy Pedro. All right, that'll do it. So until next time, stay fake nerds. Rip your finger guns. Your finger.